it's the day after the negotiations were supposed to end. We don't have any agreement on a text. We're not particularly close to an agreement on a text. And the reason is that developed countries are putting very little on the table. So the important part of the text is that there's $250 billion being offered, but a combination of everything. So there's no clarity how much, if any of that, would actually be public grant-based finance. Could all be loans. It could all be private investment. Could all be MDB finance. And it could all amount to basically nothing, in fact. And so developing countries are seeking both a higher number and more clarity on how the money is going to be provided.
What do we want, comrades? Climate finance! What do we want? Climate finance! What do we want again? Climate finance! When do we want it?
Now, there's another aspect of this as well. So we are saying here that no deal is better than a bad deal. And the reason that what's on the table right now is such a bad deal is that in addition to the low number and the low quality, the language actually would support the US and other developed countries to be able to say, actually, we no longer have any obligation to provide climate finance to the global south. This is the end game, in many ways, of a decades-long strategy led by the US to exit from their obligations under the climate regime. It's important to understand that the Paris Agreement was the first part of that strategy. So remember, we had the Kyoto Protocol, which had binding obligations on developed countries. The US signed it, never joined the protocol, and then watered down the regime until we ended up at the Paris Agreement, which is a voluntary regime in which no country is actually bound to do anything on mitigation. So the US and other developed countries exited from their mitigation obligations via the Paris Agreement. Now they're trying to exit from their finance obligations via the decision text here in Baku, which would just say that countries led by developed countries should mobilize $250 billion. It's not that developed countries shall provide $250 billion. It's much vaguer language, and it's essentially an abdication of responsibility from the US and the global north. That's what we're fighting over here. That's why we're saying that no deal is better than a bad deal.